Hi everyone, and a warm welcome again to today's session on women's social entrepreneurship for sustainable futures through Sweden and Ukraine collaboration. My name is Andrea Rosberg. I am the country manager at Reach for Change in Sweden, and I'm honored to guide you through a journey that brings together creativity, resilience, entrepreneurship, and the courage to build something better, even in times of uncertainty. Excuse me. The theme of today's session is how women's entrepreneurship, and especially women-led social enterprises, drive sustainability agenda forward, strengthens communities, and shapes the future we all depend on. You will meet a number of amazing women who will all share their perspectives on this, both from Sweden and from Ukraine. Across borders, across sectors, and across different lived realities, they will all inspire and showcase how they, through their work, use entrepreneurship as a tool to rebuild, to innovate, and to push the sustainability agenda from intention to real measurable change. And that's actually also what we do at Reach for Change. Our vision is a world where everyone can shape their own future. So this is what we try to keep in our minds every day when we go to work, to strive for a world where everyone, regardless of background or life situation, regardless of where you live or where you grow up, has the opportunity to change your own life. We truly believe in social entrepreneurship as a method to tackle some of society's most pressing challenges, and actually also to push and change systems. We unleash the power of social entrepreneurship. We do this through our capacity building programs, through which we support social entrepreneurs around the world, both with knowledge, networks, and the resources that they need to develop their organizations and create an even bigger impact, reach more people from their target group. And this is something that actually makes a difference. We are super proud of the impact that we've seen so far. We have been around since 2010. So for 15 years, we have been working as a global non-profit organization. And during this period, we have supported 3,000 change leaders, as we call the social entrepreneurs that take part of our programs. And they, in turn, have reached more than 5 million children, youth, and other vulnerable groups through their social enterprises. We also work to create a more supportive ecosystem around the social entrepreneurs to remove the barriers that they oftentimes meet. And we do this in collaboration with others. So 2,000 stakeholders in one way or another has been part of this work. And collaboration really is at the heart of everything we do. We would not be able to have seen this fantastic impact without collaborating and joining forces with others. So we try to find organizations, both from the public, private and civil society sector, who has and shares the same goals as we have, to do things better for even greater impact. And one example of such collaboration is the project that this event is a part of. It's called Empowering Women Social Entrepreneurs for the Future of Ukraine. And this event is actually co-delivered by Reach for Change, SILab Ukraine, and the Ukrainian Social Venture Fund within this project that is funded by the Swedish Ministry for Foreign Affairs. And in this project, we are focusing on empowering social entrepreneurs from Ukraine and also building linkages between the Swedish and Ukrainian impact business ecosystems. And you will be able to hear more about this project during the event, both from Sofia Breitholt, which is the CEO of Reach for Change, and from Alina Kalibaba, the CEO of the Ukrainian Social Venture Fund. We have an agenda for today. We will move into the main discussion of the event, where we will hear 3 social entrepreneurs sharing their story, 2 from Ukraine and 1 from Sweden. And after that, we will also hear some perspectives from the Swedish business sector. Let's begin. To open our session, I want to welcome someone who works every day at the intersection of entrepreneurship, social change, and sustainability. Please join me here on stage. Sofia, you're actually in Stockholm in the studio at Impact Hub, where we're at. Welcome. Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good to hear. So my first question for you, Sofia, is what role you see that women's entrepreneurship and especially women-led social enterprises play in moving the sustainability agenda forward?
Yeah. Well, first, I would just like to say a very big thank you. Huge amount of gratitude for those of you. I just saw now we are more than 50 participants, right, joining from Ukraine and Sweden at the moment. I know some of you are joining in very challenging times, so maybe I just want to take 1 minute and a deep breath for all of us. And really share some gratitude for all of you who are taking time out of a challenging time, but also committing your 2 hours to spend this session with us. So big thank you, and maybe we should all just take a breath.
Yes, thanks.
Yes. Yes. I wanted to bring up actually 3 really important topics, which I think makes today's discussion so important. The first is the idea around innovation and resilience and community. The second is the topic of solidarity. And the third is the critical topic you also talked about, female social entrepreneurship and what role that plays. But firstly, if we're just going to address the idea of innovation and community and resilience, I think the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian communities have shown an enormous amount of resilience. And what we see in the community, and many of you, I'm sure, are practitioners doing this every day, is that when we no longer have critical services provided, within health or within education or mental health issues, there are actors that step in and take on this role. And these are really community actors who see a problem, react quickly and address the problem with sustainable solutions that are for people and for planet. And we see this happening in Ukraine every day. And this is really the basic premise of social entrepreneurship. And I think this resilience is amazing. And this endurance is going to lead to also the creation of a more sustainable society also after reconstruction. So I think it's really important, the idea of social entrepreneurship and what role social entrepreneurship can play in this very critical time. And the second, which I think this initiative that we're also working on these coming years, is the idea of solidarity. And Sweden and Ukraine have long relations together, but we also share very common values. We share the values of democracy, transparency, equality. And therefore, I think there's a lot of learnings that we can make from each other if we show this and demonstrate this solidarity and this support of each other, and particularly Sweden supporting Ukraine right now. I think that the idea also of learning between our different startup ecosystems is very interesting and inspiring, because Ukraine has a really important and dynamic startup system as well. And if you underpin that with those values, I think it's going to be super exciting. And then the third aspect around what we're all doing here today, and that's the power of female social entrepreneurship. So just some global statistics. Today, 1 in 5 of traditional businesses are led by females. And maybe that's mixed teams, so not always led by females. 1 in 2 social enterprises are actually female-led. Now, these are recent statistics from the Global World Economic Forum and the Schwab Foundation, and I think it really demonstrates how these social entrepreneurs can actually drive more inclusive leadership models and maybe actually impact also traditional businesses in a really exciting way going forward.
Yeah.
So we need to support them with mentorship, with capacity building, with access to capital, and that's what we aim to do also with this initiative.
Yeah, thank you. And how does it look within Reach for Change programs in terms of women versus men? How many of the 3,000 that we have supported are female founders?
I mean, I think it varies within different sectors. So if we see like the ed tech sector, for example, educational technology, as soon as you bring the technology element into it, there are more males than females leaders in the cohorts. Something we, of course, want to change because you know, digital solutions are part of the future. So we want to have equal creation of those solutions. Otherwise, we're building bias into the system. But when it comes to communities and grassroots initiatives, what's really exciting is within healthcare, within mental health, and we see also care services, a prevalence of female-led social enterprises.
Interesting. Thank you. So can you elaborate a bit more than on how Reach for Change is working towards the sustainability agenda? And two questions in one. How we do that through this project that we're all part of.
Yeah, so I think you see behind me or next to me some of the project goals and key objectives. I think what's super exciting with this is that Reach for Change has been supporting over 3,000 social entrepreneurs globally. We have not worked in Ukraine before, but we have amazing partners on the ground in Ukraine with SILab Ukraine, who we will soon hear from, and Ukrainian Social Venture Fund, who have been doing this work for a very long time. And we both have the common objective of understanding that social enterprises to scale need access to capital. They need capacity building support. They need to be actually connected to traditional businesses and other scaling pathways, because sometimes it's the municipalities who are, for example, purchasing services, and sometimes it's companies where we can introduce social products and services into value chains. But to do that, we need to all work together with a huge movement to actually push traditional businesses and municipalities to understand the importance of working with social enterprises. So working together in this partnership, in this project, what we want to do is work with empowering local women, female social entrepreneurs in Ukraine, in actually giving them access to capital, giving them access to skills, but also mentorship, unique mentorship in a certain way from Swedish businesses who can also be part of understanding. So it's a huge advocacy work also together. Now you see some of the elements of the program. We've now launched it in 2025, and it will be running towards 2027. And we already have a huge amount of applications who we now have our first cohort running. And a lot of interest we also see from Swedish businesses this side to learn from this. So I think it's a super exciting initiative.
Super exciting, definitely, I agree. And I mean, you've been the CEO for Reach for Change for 8 years now, and it's a global non-profit, like I mentioned. So from a global perspective, what trends are you seeing when it comes to women-led social enterprises and driving systemic change?
Well, as I mentioned before, we see more female leadership in certain sectors. So what we want to see is and understand is how can we translate that to other sectors where there's more male-dominated kind of leadership models. And what we think is that if we can support these social entrepreneurs who really have innovative solutions, the social entrepreneurs are already thinking about how can we have an inclusive leadership model? How can we do less harm to planet when we're working? How can our supply chain be more green? They're already thinking, how can we actually provide critical solutions that are needed for people to grow and thrive, but that are also sustainable? So how can we combine purpose and profit? How can we have a strong mission that actually addresses the challenges that society faces, but also build a sustainable business model around it. And this is something that I think in reconstruction, in times of conflict, is extremely important, but also in times of reconstruction. Imagine if we can build influence traditional business sectors with these ideas and these thoughts. I think it would be a huge impact.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, and thank you, Sofia, for grounding our session both in vision and in action. We will see more of you. You will be part of the Q&A session, and you will also be hosting one of the Zoom rooms later. So thank you and see you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker brings a perspective shaped by urgency, resilience, and the realities of rebuilding communities under extraordinary pressure. Please welcome Alina Kalibaba, CEO of the Ukrainian Social Venture Fund and co-founder of SILab Ukraine. Hi, Alina.
Hi. Добрий день, учасники. Hello, the dear participants.
Thank you for joining us and for co-hosting this event with us. My first question for you is, from your perspective, why is this work, women, entrepreneurship and sustainability, especially vital in Ukraine at a time when rebuilding communities, restoring livelihoods, and strengthening civic resilience is so urgent?
Thank you, Andrea, for this question. I think that we all understand that the war has dramatically reshaped the Ukrainian social and economic landscape, and even not only the Ukrainian economic landscape, but also in Europe. But in Ukraine, communities face a very huge humanitarian, social, ecological, employment-related crisis, which requires a new type of solutions. And because of this, businesses cannot longer be just businesses. So during the wartime conditions, enterprises becoming the key actors, especially on the local level, in addressing social challenges, from inclusion and employment to access to basic services and psychological rehabilitation and other type of services. Why women? Actually, we are the women, and I see that the majority in the audience, also women, and a lot of from Ukraine, carry the unprecedented share of responsibility. Why it's happened? Because a lot of men killed, injured, or serving in the army right now, and especially in small towns and rural areas. And so women have become primarily the breadwinners and community leaders. And what we're observing right now in Ukraine, that women are stepping into, I don't know if it's correct word, non-traditional roles and need to upgrade their skills. Because they are the center of, and the let's say, the main power of their families, their communities. And a lot of women are entering entrepreneurship not only for income, but to stabilize their families and help local economies to recover and also to support vulnerable groups. We have such huge number of challenges that our municipalities and the government, they just simply don't have the capacity to manage all of them. And that's why the existence of businesses with social impact increasing right now. And because of the factors that I mentioned earlier, women are playing a huge role in this. And so I think that that's why the social entrepreneurship and women as co-founders and leaders in such kind of entrepreneurship are actually exist and very important right now for my country.
Yeah, thank you. And can you continue elaborating a bit? Sofia started to talk about this project that we are now running jointly. How do you plan to address this more concretely in this collaboration project?
Yeah, Thank you, because actually Sophia has covered a lot. I will try. I will try to add,
Yeah.
but I would like to start with a short personal story. My first experience with active social entrepreneurship actually happened in Stockholm 9 or 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, our very first school for social enterprises from SILab actually been launched. And our first partner in this school was Latvian and Swedish organization. And I still remember how I was impressed after the visit to Sweden, because I saw the society where businesses are very people-centric, responsible, deeply involved in solving community problems, taking care about the environment. And I was dreaming if it's possible that sometimes, somehow, it will appear in Ukraine. So 10 years passed, and we conducted a lot of schools and incubation program and acceleration. Right now in our community of alumni, we have up to 400 social businesses. And during this crisis period, this war, we see that the number of newborns, let's say, or startups are also exist and increase. And so when we speak about how we plan to address this in our new cooperation with Reach for Change, the answer is very simple. All three organizations in this consortium are not the newborns or newcomers. So, but together we can bring very different strengths to this project. Reach for Change, as Sophia and you, Andrea, already mentioned, has years of global experience in impact, incubation, mentorship, access to capital. Ukraine, as a fragile region today, faces the huge number of different social, ecological challenges. But at the same time, SILab Ukraine has 10 years experience in incubation and acceleration and enhancing the capacity of social enterprises, both startups and grows up. And Ukrainian Social Venture Fund, we are the younger let's say, participant in this consortium, only officially 3 years and non-officially 5 years. I mean, officially when we've been officially registered, because we started to work earlier as an initiative using our co-founded entities. But we are the first fund who actually trying to use different financial instruments in order to support social enterprises and impact businesses. By this, we are trying to develop the bankability of such companies in order then to attract and open the opportunities to capital and to bigger finance. So, and I think that this multi-stage support model that we are building together with support of the ministry, as like from idea to investment readiness. We have the idea stage, innovation lab, which is in process right now, and we had up to 300 plus application from women who would like to launch or relaunch their micro or small businesses. Incubation, which will start next year for social enterprises in a status of startup, then acceleration for more mature ones, and different blended finance tools in order to help them grow together with mentorship support, both from Ukrainian businesses and experts and from Swedish businesses and experts. So I think that we will build. I'm sure that it will be in this way, a very strong model that will help to recover and to enhance our economy as on a local level and national level.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing both your experience and also a bit about your personal journey. And for those of you who are interested in learning more about this and also about the funding landscape in Ukraine, you're most welcome to join the breakout Zoom, the Ukrainian speaking one, where you will be moderating, Alina. Thank you once again. We will now hear 3 different stories from 3 social entrepreneurs, both from Ukraine and from Sweden. And they will briefly share what their enterprises are doing, the challenge that they are aiming to solve, and also how they work connects to the broader sustainability agenda. And first up is a speaker who shows how creativity and entrepreneurial courage can illuminate paths forward for entire communities. Welcome, Alina Marnenko. You are the director and founder of Museum in the Dark, 3 o'clock after midnight. I think that's just a fantastic name of a social enterprise, and I'm so curious to hear more about the work you do. But please start just by presenting yourself and tell us who you are.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here and share our experience. I'm a social entrepreneur from Ukraine, but first interesting fact, and maybe funny fact, that I never dreamt to be an entrepreneur. I worked in IT, and I thought that I found an interesting idea and it will be my hobby. But yeah, later it turned out that it's not my hobby, it's not now my full-time job, like a life project.
That's oftentimes the way it is, right?
Yeah.
You get
Yes.
hooked and you can't stop doing what you're really passionate about. So tell us more about your social enterprise. What is it that you do and which challenge are you aiming to solve?
Yeah, so we opened first Museum in the Dark in Ukraine in 2017. One more also funny fact that we didn't know it's a social enterprise. I even didn't hear such a term at that time. I just knew that I found a great idea, a business idea, which combined social impact, and I didn't know about social impact. It was just a great idea which combines leisure in a way, some experience, which with a big impact on people's minds. And that impressed me. So I thought it's a great idea. So we have to have it in Ukraine. And in a while, I thought, why not to open it? So it can be a nice hobby to have additionally to my work. How does it work in general? So we created a big space that resembles a usual location from our life. Very realistically, it's nature, apartments, streets, different locations, and everything in total darkness. And when I say darkness, it's real darkness. You don't need masks. You don't need to close your eyes. So your brain really switch from visual information to other senses. And in such conditions, we try to repeat usual tasks like crossing a street, pouring water in a cup, opening a door, doing something with other senses. And during this process, there is always a blind guide near you who can help you with these tasks, who can explain what you feel or share their perspective. And the main important part of this experience that we understand that all of this is possible. It's just different. And very naturally, we destroy stereotypes about blind people because all of us, we didn't meet them before in our life usually. We didn't have a lot of information. And that's why we have a lot of stereotypes, because when we don't have information, we create different stereotypes and ideas, which are not true. So we operate as a social enterprise. We employ blind people, we solve social problem by our product, and we support financially our social projects. So we do all of that, but also we have charitable foundation. Because what we understood during the process of operating since 2017, that first of all, visually impaired people have really a lot of problems in Ukraine and a lot of barriers, a lot of stereotypes. All spheres are not accessible, and so on. Second, we understood that it's like my belief, of course subjective, but I believe that first what we need to change is people's perspective and attitude, because we can't change all systems and accessibility by rules or by lectures or by facts. We need to change how people perceive each other and destroy these stereotypes. So after they will have motivation to change something around them and in their companies and their teams, spaces, everywhere. And third, a very important point for me, that our impact is much wider than just, not just, but bigger than helping visually impaired people, because we increased tolerance and empathy in society in general. And of course, it's a benefit for each of us. So we all want to live in better society, and we want other people accept us and respect us. So I believe that this emotional and immersive experience really help to do it for everyone.
Thank you. And you mentioned in the beginning that you didn't know much about impact or social impact when you started,
Yes.
but now I know that you're working quite actively with measuring the impact that your organization is having. So how do you do that? How do you measure the social impact in a sort of cultural and educational project like yours?
Honestly, I think that measuring social impact on one side is one of the most important parts of doing social impact projects. So it's the one of the most challenging and important part. It's important because we need to share our results to our audience, so they will trust and see proof of our impact. And on the other side, we need to show it to ourselves, to our teams, because sometimes we can think that we do something good, but first of all, we can be wrong, surprisingly. And second, without these proofs and facts, it's very difficult to measure how effectively we work and plan our strategies, projects, and so on. When we started in 2017, we didn't measure it. We measured very standard numbers and facts, like amount of visitors, for example. So we saw that our experience influenced people, but we didn't really prove it. And we counted how many visitors we had or their reviews after excursion. And then each year we try to improve these statistics and measurement. And since 2022, when we opened charitable organization and we divided our strategy between social enterprise and charitable organization and all our social projects, we started to create annual impact report and improve our measurement process every year. So, for example, we added different additional questions for visitors after the excursion, where they measure how they change perception about visually impaired people, or, for example, for our educational formats for children, we measure if they really know now how to help blind people in cities, if they know correct terms. Also, for each project, we have separate measurements, which we choose when we launch the project, and then we try to measure them. So all of it helps us to, first of all, prioritize our projects, because when we have these social KPIs, we can then see very clearly when we decide to launch something new and interesting, if it really helps us to achieve these goals. And when we, in the end, measure it, we can really prove that, okay, we helped so many people, or we created I don't know, some materials, exhibits. But it's not only about our feelings that we did something good for somebody, but it's about some real evidence. So we still on this journey of improving this process. Honestly, I know that for a lot of social enterprises in Ukraine, it's a challenge. And of course, it requires a lot of resources because we all have small teams, even though we now have more than 30 people in our team, but it's still small because all of us do everything. And ideally, you need a separate person who will be responsible for social impact. We don't have this luxury. So we are trying to do the best we can. But I believe, it's very important for motivation of the team, ourselves, and for our audience.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. And congratulations for such fantastic work.
Thank you.
Our next guest, we're moving on now, Irina, shows how baking, tradition, and social impact can empower communities and inspire change. Welcome, Irina. We're so glad to have you joining us today. Please start by letting us know, who are you?
Вітаю! Маю за честь бути тут і дуже дякую за запрошення. Насправді про себе можна розказати багато, як і будь-якому з нас підприємців, які горять своєю справою. Але почну з того, що все, що не робили, починалося з жінок. З 2019 року я була учасницею проєктів міжнародних за фінансування ЄС. До речі, партнерами наші були зі Швеції, Фолькуніверситет, і ми реалізовували разом проєкт соціально-економічної інтеграції жінок ВПО та мігранток через підприємництво. Потім у 2022 році, з початком повномасштабної війни, я долучилася до команди соціального проєкту «Вільні», де ми також займалися тим, що сприяли соціально-економічній інтеграції жінок ВПО через працевлаштування і також намагалися допомагати їм розвивати підприємницькі навички. І коли у 2024 році ми дійшли до створення родинного спільного бізнесу, це крафтової пекарні у нас у Вінниці, в центральному регіоні України, я розуміла, що це також буде бізнес з соціальним впливом, тому що я не можу інакше, я хочу працювати для жінок, я хочу працювати для громади, я хочу створювати соціальний вплив. Наразі у нас є спільний корпоративний фонд з благодійною організацією «Фонд громад». У нас в Вінниці він входить до топів, один з таких найбільших фондів громад в Україні, і ми частину прибутку спрямовуємо цей фонд, щоб підтримувати жінок-підприємець, які хочуть займатися крафтовим підприємництвом з маленьких сільських громад, оскільки в них не стільки можливостей, як, наприклад, у жителів великих міст, більших міст, і вони... Багато з них хочуть займатися підприємництвом, хочуть утримувати родини в зв'язку з тими ж проблемами, які казала Олена, воно дуже наростає і з роками ці проблеми загострюються. Але у нас з'явилося ще 2 напрямки окремих, і якось вони з'явилися само собою, тому що я як випускниця однієї з програм від Українського соціального венчурного фонду SILab Ukraine такі вже навчили інструментів, як формувати вплив, як його вимірювати, як створювати. І я розуміла, що воно десь все одно будуть ще розширюватись інші напрямки. І зараз ми вже створили окремий простір, де ми проводимо інтеграційні зустрічі для ветеранів, для сімей, для дружин ветеранів, для громадських організацій, які працюють з сім'ями загиблих, інтеграційні зустрічі через хліб, через майстер-класи роботи з хлібом, через випікання хліба. Це якийсь такий момент психологічної розрядки. І ось ми хочемо реалізувати цей проєкт «Хлібна нація. Рестарт», щоб ще більше, щоб це був якийсь такий момент хліботерапії. Ми побачили, що це працює, до нас звертаються багато організацій, існують запити, і ми дуже тішимося, що ми таким чином можемо зробити вплив, щоб проводити такі заходи. Ми за Осінь провели вже 4 заходи. Зараз у нас буде ще один у грудні, присвячений Різдву, і ми плануємо не зупинятися, робити це ще так само у січні. І знову ж таки ми дуже хочемо, що проводимо консультації для, знову ж таки, жінок, які захочуть займатися крафтовим підприємництвом. Ми показуємо, як відновлюється ремесло, як воно живе. Тобто ще один з напрямків – це така профорієнтація певною мірою, де ми показуємо, чим живемо, як працюємо, консультуємо, допомагаємо. Багато жінок звертається до нас за консультацією, наприклад, як сертифікацію пройти, як отримати фінансування, знову ж таки, як узаконити. Тому що проблема крафтового підприємництва, особливо маленького, в маленьких громадах, що ці жінки, вони не знають, як легалізувати своє виробництво, які інструменти існують, куди звертатись, до яких органів, що робити. І це теж такий один з наших напрямків, що ми проводимо таку певною мірою просвітницьку місію і хочемо, щоб вони всі працювали легально, працювали для громади. В цьому контексті також організовуємо спільно з нашим офісом туризму міської ради і, знову ж таки, з благодійним фондом громад безкоштовні ярмарки для таких жінок. Але однією з умов є, наприклад, що вони мають бути офіційно зареєстровані, мати документи ФОП, мати усі на руках документи. Це спонукає брати участь, і це певною мірою спонукає їх теж вже переходити на певний рівень підприємництва. Ось, тому в нас такі основні 3 напрямки. Дякую, що дали можливість висловитись, та буду рада відповісти на питання.
Thank you, and wow, what an impressive work you're doing. Do you know how many women that you have supported?
Ми, відверто кажучи, маємо підвести підсумки до кінця року, зробити, дуже-дуже хочемо зробити звіт про соціальний вплив, тому що останнім часом настільки багато різних подій всього, що це треба виміряти, але, більше 20 точно, це так за останній рік, але це якщо ми беремо підприємець. Окремо ще є жінки, які на інтеграційні заходи до нас приходили, так? То ми хочемо розділити по категоріях і, в принципі, зробити такий от звіт, і я сподіваюся, що в нас це вийде.
Thank you, and thank you very much. There will be more questions for you during the Q&A. Thank you for joining us. Our next guest, Maria, shows how creativity and engineering can spark real inclusion. Maria, you're also here in Stockholm. Yes, welcome. Hi. Nice to see you and have you joining us here. Who are you, Maria? Tell us.
One of the founders of I guess that you tell a little bit about it.
Yes.
We make inclusive music adapted for users other cognitive disabilities. And the special thing about them is that they are made to be played together with others. So they look like small synthesizers, but with fewer buttons. And each one of them has a small computer inside which synchronizes them together and makes them sound good, to make it accessible for everyone to play music together, even if you cannot learn a traditional instrument. And the instruments can be played together with the other funky instruments, but they can also be played together with traditional instruments, which is a fun way for all kinds of people to play music together and meet. And that's like what we want to create with these instruments, that we want to create more inclusion by making people meet and play music together. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Yeah, thank you. So how come you started this journey? What's your background? Why musical instruments and this kind of meetings for all kinds of people?
Yeah, so it's kind of a mix of all things that I really like. I started after I finished gymnasium. I started working as a teacher's assistant at a special school in Stockholm with children with intellectual and physical disabilities. And I was going to work there for a year or so before I was going to start studying at university, but I really loved working there. So I stayed there full time for 5 years, and then I started studying at KTH, which is a Sweden's technical university, one of the biggest technical universities in Sweden, studying engineering, and engineering directed towards human-computer interaction and sound and music computing. And during the studies, I met my co-founder, Josephine, and we actually built the first version of the instruments in a course during our studies. And I also worked a lot with or a lot, but I worked in the regular music business as a tour management and arranging nightclubs and so on. So that's kind of my musical background. And Josephine, my co-founder, she's more the musician, and I'm more I have worked a lot with the target group, and we both like to invent stuff. We build things together, and the instrument is like a combination of all the things we really like. So
it's fantastic, really, to see how you combine both your expertise and your interests and your passions into this social enterprise. Really cool. And how do you do who is playing? To whom do you sell the instruments?
We sell them to special schools, and in Sweden we have a thing called Culture School. I don't know. I don't know if you have, because a lot of you that's watching this are from Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of them do you live in Sweden, or do you live in? I don't know where to look.
In the camera. Look in the camera.
Do you live in?
Most who are joining us live in Ukraine. Yeah.
In Ukraine, yeah. Okay. In Sweden, we have this thing called Culture School, which is a really nice thing that makes it very accessible for many people to learn a traditional instrument or dance or do theater, or for a very cheap price, so that everyone can afford to be there. But it's supposed to be for everyone, but it's not really for everyone. They still have some challenges with working with children with special needs and so on. So that has been one of our best customers, or how do you say it? They really need good tools to be able to have all kinds of students in Culture School. So Culture School and adapted schools, like special school, and also daily activity centers, which is where you go when you finish school, you grow up and then you start working, and you have an intellectual disability, you go to a daily activity center. That's also a typical customer.
Yeah, thank you. And you've actually been part of Reach for Change incubator program. In what way would you say that support has helped you to build Funky?
I think that the most important thing is that you have a team. You have, as some of the previous speakers said, that we have quite small teams. We work with everything, and it's almost like you get an extended team when you have the Reach for Change team. We have you that runs the whole thing, and then also the other teams that do similar things as you do, which is really supportive. So I think that has been the most important part of it, to have the extended team, but also to learn how to run a social business, because we have been a part of several incubator programs, and none of them have been directed specially towards social entrepreneurship, and that's very, very valuable to learn how to do that in the best possible way.
Thank you. And thank you, Maria, for sharing your journey. And thanks to all of the social entrepreneurs who shared their stories with us. We will now move into the next session of this event, where we will hear from two representatives from the Swedish business sector. And first up is Emma Lindgren. She's actually also with us in Stockholm. She works where health, care and innovation meet, a space that increasingly depends on collaboration across actors. Emma, please join us here on stage. Hi, how are you?
Well, nice to be back.
Nice to have you here. So you are head of partnerships and sales at GoCare.
Yes.
Tell us what you do at GoCare, and what does GoCare do? What's your sort of vision and mission?
Yes, so thanks for inviting me again, and hopefully some of the insights that I share from the Swedish healthcare sector can also inspire some of the Ukrainians and some of the Swedish entrepreneurs. Happy to also continue the conversation afterwards. We only have a few minutes now.
Yes.
So Go Care is one of 2 services that our company, Senior Life, provide, and it's also female-led and female-funded 12 years ago. So Fanny and Pernilla, the 2 Swedish social entrepreneurs that are dedicated into elderly care to begin with, they helped out their grandparents to find the right, I'm going to show this later, I'm going to put it down, to find the right housing for senior housing for their grandparents. And they found it to be really hard to navigate. And what rights do they have? What options are there out there? So they founded Seniorval, which is basically like a housing platform and for home services as well, where you can find what options you have depending on where you live, and also where to find basically the right services that you need in those senior years. And then Go Care started 2018 out of the conversations with the elderly care facilities, that they said basically it's great that you can communicate our offers to the seniors, but what we really need is talents and staff members, because what we're seeing across Europe, but also in Sweden, is a demographics that is shifting dramatically. So we're going from 500,000 to 1,080,000 plus years. So you can imagine the amount of staff that is going to need to steer into the elderly care, but also disability care and the healthcare sector. So all together, we need to populate and attract 200,000 workers over the next 10 years, which is basically every second person and going out from university or high school that needs to work in this field. And the problem is that no one wants to, especially not with the elderly, unfortunately, in Sweden, has a bad reputation. And it doesn't correlate with the actual experience from those working in the sector. So we need to kind of counter the picture and show a different reality.
Yeah, such an important work. And within this space, collaboration between actors is key, right? And I know that you have a lot of different examples. Why don't you share some of those and how you work cross-sector?
Yes, so this is why I found this in my backpack. So we launched Vård and Vibes, which is basically healthcare vibes. Yes, so spreading new vibes around healthcare in Sweden 6 months ago, where we are a coalition of partners from the public sector. So hundreds of, or almost 200 municipalities are part of the network, along with thousands of educators and also the trade unions, where we at Go Care, the little female-founded enterprise, we are kind of the driving force there, trying to basically get the youngest people, when they're 15 and about to start high school, to already then go into healthcare and elderly care as a focus area at gymnasium or high school.
Yeah, what a fantastic example. Thank you. Time flies when you're having fun, right? It's actually time now to open up for our Q&A session. So please stay with us, and everyone listening, prepare your questions. I hope you have written them down, maybe on a note. Now it's time to write them in the chat. And like I mentioned earlier, it's okay to write them both in Ukrainian and in English. Olga will translate them for me so I can pass them forward. But while you are doing that, I have one more question for you, Emma, because you have experience yourself from working within different sectors, right? Your previous role was to be the director of Ashoka Nordics, which is a civil society organization. And what have you personally learned from moving between sectors? I think that's something that might be key in your new role now.
Yeah. So I guess curiosity has always been a driving force for me, and also learning. So what I learned at Ashoka was massive, and I try to keep testing it out in my daily work now. So concepts such as social impact and social innovation for the public good and system change are concepts that we try to make happen within the elderly care sector now. So there are more and more similarities, I would say, but I also learn, of course, a lot on focusing on one market and one topic rather than broader topics, as I did at Ashoka. Yes, and working with municipalities is something I didn't do before. So
Yeah.
that's a big area of growth.
Yeah, thank you. And I see that we also now have highlighted Alina and Irina and Olena on the screen. So feel free to share all your questions for all of these amazing women. And Sofia, starting with you. How does Reach for Change evaluate the long-term impact of supporting women entrepreneurs, especially in fragile contexts? Because we work not only in Sweden, we have examples, for instance, from Ethiopia.
Yes.
So do you have any maybe examples from how that has looked
I
previously?
think the first one is being really in the long term. So a lot of impact measurement is around maybe just very, if it's not done correctly, or then it's very short term. So you think about just the general outputs. I mean, how many people have attended my whatever service or thing I'm offering. What we try to coach is you want to see the long-term impact. So you want to follow up with relevant questions. And I think our speakers here were talking about that really exciting how they do that. You know, how does the museum make you feel? Have you changed your idea around you know, what disabilities are, for example, and then measuring that over time.
Yeah.
And then also connecting that to the research that we know. There's a lot of great research out there, which I think is a super important dimension. And what we're doing now at Reach for Change also is we're trying to train an AI tool around impact measurement, which I think is a way to also address in these fragile contexts when you're an entrepreneur working on your own and, you know, small teams and things like that. Can you help? Can you use this AI instrument to maybe help you design questionnaires, design you know, measurement KPIs that you can then follow up over long term? So that's super interesting. And then I also think adapting the way you gather information. So when we've been working in Ethiopia, in fragile areas of Ethiopia, suddenly we can't reach the groups that we want to work with and train. And then we've had to adapt really quickly. How can we use digital tools, video content? How can we use radio content, for example? How can we've started podcasts. We've done things to reach those who sometimes are not reachable in fragile contexts. So those are two examples.
Yeah, great examples. Thank you. And Maria, I mean, I think your Funky and your story is such a great example of something that started as an idea, then you started your business, now you're actually selling products. Do you like to share a challenge that you have sort of bumped on during your journey and how you overcame that?
I mean, there is obviously like a lot of challenges, and I often think about that. I'm so happy that I didn't know how difficult this would be when I started. I'm not supposed to say this to you if you're like you get encouraged to continue, but it's also the most fun thing I've done in my whole life. It's like the best thing. I just love working with Funky. I mean, I want to do it every day, all the time. So it's great, but it has been. Everything takes so much time. That's a challenge, I think. I imagine that we would be where we are now, maybe for 2 years ago. It's like everything you do, like it takes at least 1 year longer than you thought it would take, and that can be quite challenging. And that you have to try to. I mean, you have to work a lot, and you have to work without any payment a lot. Like you have to do extra jobs and do all of that, and not get all. Not to like burn out, is that the word? Is it the right word in English? Yeah, like to watch yourself to not work too much, but you still have to work like a lot. So that has been.
So what do you do then to find that balance between everything you need to do and sometimes also take breaks?
I'm trying to practicing to say no to things because you want to say yes to everything, but not saying yes to everything. And but it's still going like really up and down right now. Now in December, I think everyone's really like, you have a lot of things to do, and it's, I mean, now we got a lot of orders, which is so fun, but it's also like, okay, we have to build so many instruments. Yeah, try to rest in the spaces in between, maybe on the subway or and try to get enough sleep as well. That feels important.
That's a great tip.
And
I think all of us can use that.
And a more like inspirational thing is maybe that we also, when me and Josephine think that we now we don't want to do this anymore, we just go out and play together with our target group, and then we always like get so much energy and feel that it's really worth it.
Yeah. Thank you. We actually have one question now, also for you, Maria, from the audience. Do you feel that the government support your social business?
Yes, I do actually. That's like
wonderful.
That's a thing that I'm like super happy about. That's a great question, because I think that we have gotten a lot of support from Vinnova, for example, which is like the state state-funded innovation thing agency, and I think that is because we have like mixed the social entrepreneurship with like science and the engineering parts and like the technology and all of that, and so I really feel like we have done that, and we have also been a part of many different startup sammanhang. Context, like we have competed a lot with our startup with the other startups that doesn't do social entrepreneurship. So I think we have learned a lot of different ways to frame your company, and that has probably made it easier for us to get more support from where the non-social entrepreneurs get their funding and stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, that's fantastic. We have one question now for Alina. What do you think are the biggest needs in the Ukrainian innovation ecosystem? Is it funding, networks, capacity, scale-up opportunities, or other things? What do you say?
Yeah, thank you, Katerina, for the question. I just want to clarify. So you are asking about innovation ecosystem for social entrepreneurship or in general, because it also depends what kind of ecosystem. We have the tech ecosystem, and now I see that they also put in their business model a lot of impact. So they are trying to reduce some challenges, and it's connected, with alarms, with blackouts, so to make life of people easier in these conditions. But if we are talking about the ecosystem for social entrepreneurship, so all that you mentioned is actually needed. In crisis, I think that maybe the audience will agree with me that in crisis, even it's very difficult and hurt, and we sacrifice, but we are developing, because we are trying to find some solution in order to to move out from this crisis bubble, and that's why even I don't like this status, but that's what I see, that we are a kind of testing space for different innovations in healthcare, in surgery, in prosthesis, in education. And when you have such a lot of different invention, what I observed that it is not enough knowledge and capacity how is actually working with innovative solutions. Because in order to make R&D, you need funding, and you need good mentorship, and then you need to understand the perspective and market. Only for last 6 months I met, because we are also working with a scientific solution, I met a lot of different invention like different scenarios for decreasing the PTSD and VR devices with different trigger, with sound, with scent, with picture, or the special technologies that make I don't know how to in English, the substitution of bones from titanium, less more suitable for the body and for the muscles. So, and you know, it would never happen if we wouldn't be in such conditions. So at the same time, I see that all these people, they are not a professional inventors or professional entrepreneurs. So all of them need, let's say, good partners who is really passionate about to develop something together. Access to funding, do not think about this because, as I mentioned, R&D is a quite expensive process, and actually it is not a lot of possibilities of technical support or humanitarian support who would like to support this, because this is this invention or innovation solutions, they have the future perspective, let's say, and now we have such a lot of challenges here and now. So that's why a lot of grant support is going for, let's say, today challenges. So answering your question, yeah, we need funding, definitely, access to different networks, and understanding how this invention can be then scaled and used not only in Ukraine, because there is a lot of dual use technologies that can be used for civil purposes, not only for military ones. And yeah, mentorship and everything that I mentioned.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. We have another question. I will actually read it out loud. It's quite long. I think it's mainly for you, Alina, but if anyone else also wants to answer, feel free. It goes like this. Is there an example of a case of social entrepreneurship in the agricultural sector, plant growing? I ask because there is a business and an idea to establish a social enterprise for growing cucumbers and tomatoes in closed soil, where people who find themselves in difficult life circumstances, internally displaced persons, veterans, and with disabilities would work.
I will answer in Ukrainian.
Yes.
Юлія, я думаю, що ви можете написати потім мені, але так, такі приклади є, і ми в фонді також підтримували декілька агро-імпакт-бізнесів, які в тому числі інтегрують і працюють з ВПО, або які опинилися в складних життєвих обставинах і переміщені були в сільську місцевість. Але в будь-якому випадку, те, що я хочу сказати, люба ідея, вона 50/50, має право на життя і має 50%, що вона може бути успішна. Все залежить, це також те, що я помічала, в багатьох випадках від завзятості, віри, візійності засновників, наскільки вони готові працювати над цією бізнес-ідеєю. Але агро зараз це сфера, яка підтримується, тому якщо у вас більш-менш зрозуміла і стабільна бізнес-модель може бути, то так, чому б ні? Напишіть мені, я вам дам приклади, щоб зараз не забирати час.
Great, thank you. We're already creating linkages and building our network. That's perfect. We actually have our last speaker who has joined us now. She had to attend another meeting, but Martina Lind, founding partner at Nordic Public Affairs, is now with us. Warm welcome, Martina. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Great. You have a lot of experience in working with rhetorics and advocacy work, and so I have a few questions for you. In your experience, what rhetorical practices, whether in messaging framing or public engagement are effective in communicating business contributions to the sustainability agenda? And before answering that, you can also just please introduce yourself and tell us who you are.
Thank you. For some reason, my headphones aren't working, so I hope you can hear me. Does
Yeah.
it sound okay?
Perfect.
Great. Well, I have a background in politics and media. I used to work for the Liberal Party in Sweden, and I was elected to the city council here. And then I worked in business, and then I worked at the government offices as chief of staff to the Liberal Party leader. And now I work with public affairs, which is where I help businesses and business associations with policy issues, with communication, branding, everything related to that. And I do a lot of work related to climate policy and climate investment.
Wow, what a vast experience. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us here today. Do you want me to repeat the question, or do you keep it in the back of your head?
Well, the question was, what rhetorical tools do you need? Can you use from political rhetoric?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Well, so I have a political background. I've worked a lot with political communication and building kind of political personas. And in general, I would say there are a lot of things that that business and business leaders can learn from political leadership, because political leadership is always like, you always have to earn the leader, like you have to earn the trust, you have to earn the leadership. There's you're elected, you're not appointed, so you have to kind of have support in the room, and that requires stronger personal relationships. For political leaders to be successful, you need to have that sense of personal trust and personal connection with them. And I think the most important thing is to realize the importance of the personal connection. I mean, and every communication research, amounts to this. When you feel a connection with the person who's speaking, and you're kind of like building your personal relationship with them, that's the most important thing for building trust, and for being able to listen to someone for a long time. It makes you remember what they say. It makes you think that what they say is important, and doing that has a lot to do with telling your own story, having a personal story that's related to the vision and the goals that you're trying to go towards. And I always recommend that people have a cuff speech. And so like the cuff speech goes on your cuff. It's no more than 3 minutes long. It's about who you are, what drives you, and why that's motivated you to do the work that you do today. And the cuff speech is something that you should be able to, if I wake you up in the middle of the night, you should always be able to give your cuff speech, and you can give it in any context.
That's great, thank you. Do you have any other sort of advice for both the social entrepreneurs who have spoken here today, and we have noticed that we have a number of potentially becoming social entrepreneurs in the audience? What else would you say are the most important when you are to get your message out there and communicate your social business?
Well, you can read about how to write a speech. Like you can you can read about that on Wikipedia. I mean, it's like a basic theory. It works, but people usually underestimate all the details around the speech, which is like, for example, your emotional presence. Are you feeling the emotion as you're talking about it? You can add adding like sensory details, which is like they can be, like it's rather damp and cold here in Stockholm, and like describing like sensory details, or like how how you were feeling more and more cold as you realized the sense of urgency of a problem, things like that, or using physical props, which could be having something. So this is, for example, in my office, we always have, we only use political mugs. So they're like politicians, and things on always on the mugs. So there's always this thing where like, okay, which mug am I choosing today? Or who am I, who wants which mug? Or it kind of, it's like a prop that shows that we're intensely interested in politics. Having a look, things like that make people, it gives you like a heightened sense of reality to what you're speaking about.
Yeah. And not being afraid then of actually using your own persona in your messaging, and really being your authentic self in trying to reach a broader audience.
Yes. But I always, creating a persona is like you take parts of yourself that you use for a professional purpose. And the parts of yourself that you use for a professional purpose are parts of yourself that, relate to what you're telling and that you're comfortable sharing. So, and so choose carefully, what should I, what part of my personal story can I use in this context, and what am I comfortable sharing?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Great tips. I will let one more question from the audience in before we move on to the next part of this session. And it's for Alina. What tools did you use to measure the impact of your project? And the person who's writing this is aiming to strengthen the global access to academic expertise in healthcare by implementing an AI platform where skilled international students can provide their academic support to NGOs and universities in low-income countries.
Okay, thank you for the question. The answer will be not surprising, I guess. We use classical Google Sheet, Excel. We are lucky in a way, I think, because I'm a huge fan of Excel, and because of that, partially, we have a lot of information and data since the first day of museum existence, because now we have a lot of data to analyze about our financial expenses and revenue in different categories. So about visitors, their reviews, and all possible data that we were able to gather. I think for such projects, not like small projects, it's enough to use Google Sheets and formulas and all automatizations that are possible there, because we need individual approach, and it's all quite often not possible on standard platforms. The same is applicable to financial reports, for example. For us, it's more convenient to build our report and automatization in Excel than using standard platforms, because there are not. Otherwise, you need to order your own system or application, right, for yourself. We usually we don't have resources for that. So yes, just Excel. Of course, you need to learn how to use formulas and all graphs, but yeah, I think it's powerful tool for measurements, statistics, and all this needs.
Thank you, Alina, for sharing.
And of course, sorry, and of course AI. Now, honestly, I don't know how we lived without AI. So we use it a lot.
Yeah.
But of course, we can't trust AI in some data because there are some hallucinations.
You have to be cautious as well, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
And it's great to hear that you're using those kinds of tools. There are numerous methodologies and tools for this, but sometimes it's just good to start where you stand, and as you grow, potentially add other more complex tools onto your business. Okay, thank you all. It's time to wrap up, actually, and just go back for a second to today's theme of this session. Today, we have heard how women-led entrepreneurship, grounded in purpose, creativity, and courage, becomes a powerful driver of the sustainability agenda. From rebuilding communities to transforming care systems, from artistic empowerment to structural advocacy, we've seen that sustainability is not only environmental, it's deeply social. And it's about people, it's about dignity, and it's about the communities that surround us. To all of the speakers, thank you so much for taking your time and sharing your experiences, and also to all of you who have been listening and asking questions. Thank you so much for joining. But this is actually not the end. We will soon move into breakout sessions, and we will do more of this. We actually have planned for 3 more similar events in the coming year. 2 will actually be live in Lviv in Ukraine, and 1 online, just like this one. So stay tuned, follow us, and join us also in those if you're interested.